And week 13 of the fantasy football season, here's the top 15 tight ends I'm ranking this week. Number one, Trey McBride of the Arizona Cardinals. Ever since Jacoby Brissett stepped into the starting lineup, Trey McBride's going out there. His numbers are going up even more, and he's been the best tight end easily all season long in fantasy football. So this week in a matchup with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a defense that's been bad, especially over the last few weeks, dealing with injuries as well. I think McBride goes out there and has a big game once again. Number two, George Kittle of the San Francisco 49ers. Kittle's really ramped it up over the last couple weeks, and ever since Brock Purdy returned to the lineup a few weeks ago, his numbers are going up. So last week, nice game it was for Kittle, and this week a decent matchup at the Cleveland Browns. Overall, they're pretty good defense, but versus tight ends this season, their numbers haven't been great. So like I said, with Purdy back in the lineup, Kittle's putting up elite numbers, and this week, once again, I believe he'll go out there and have a good game. Number three, Brock Bowers of the Las Vegas Raiders. It's been hit or miss with Brock Bowers over the last month since he returned to the lineup for this Raider team. It seems like one good game, one bad game type of thing, where Geno Smith's been one of the worst quarterbacks in the league this season. The offensive line isn't good, and also I don't think Brock Bowers is 100%, where he was dealing with a knee injury early in the season and then took a month off before he returned to the lineup. So with all those factors, he's still a tight end that's going to get his targets, still going to put up points, but obviously not the elite level like he was last season. And this week, in a matchup at the Chargers, where their defense a couple weeks ago got torched, obviously by the Jaguars offense, Bowers still a top three option weekly. Number four, Travis Kelce of the Kansas City Chiefs. So this week, a good matchup at the Dallas Cowboys. Even trading for Logan Wilson, I still think the Cowboys have one of the worst linebacking crews in all pro football. Travis Kelce last week, he had a touchdown called back, and this Kansas City team last week, a lot of field goals they had to settle for to win that game. So this week, I think some of those field goal attempts are going to turn into touchdowns, and it wouldn't be surprising if Kelce has one this week. Number five, Tyler Warren of the Indianapolis Colts. His numbers have dropped off a bit. Is Tyler Warren. Maybe he's hitting a rookie wall where teams are adjusting to him, and he has to go out there and make adjustments as Tyler Warren. But like I said, he's still one of the better tight ends in the league. They line him up all over the formation, and he's the number 1 or 2 option in this passing game for this Indianapolis Colts team. So this week, no doubt about it, it's a tough matchup for this Colts team with Houston coming in. But Warren, he's been a matchup problem all season long in his rookie year. Number 6, Oronde Gadsden of the Los Angeles Chargers. So Gadsden, he broke out a few weeks ago, and he hasn't looked back ever since. And he's going out there and putting up numbers. And this week, coming off a bye, getting that knee 100% is Gadsden, where he was banged up a little bit in week 11 at Jacksonville. But this week, coming off the bye, getting healthy, and a good matchup versus the Vegas Raiders. I think Gadsden will go out there and put in a nice ball game. Number 7, Juwan Johnson of the New Orleans Saints. So Johnson, the number 2 option easily in this offense for this New Orleans Saints team. This week, a good matchup at the Miami Dolphins, where their defense isn't really that good at all. And Johnson, he's a tight end that could go out there. He could run the routes. He's a matchup problem. A good yard after catch guy. And also with Tyler Shuck, the young rookie quarterback in there, a young quarterback security blanket is the tight end position. Number 8, Brenton Strange of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So maybe I'm bigger on Strange than consensus, but last week he came back off injury, 4 catches, 93 yards in that ball game. And Strange, he was a consistent option in this offense, and probably the most consistent option, I would say, in the first month of the season, where he went on IR and down with injury. So this week, with a great matchup at the Tennessee Titans, I think Strange will go out there once again and have a good ball game. Number 9, Darren Waller of the Miami Dolphins. His 21-day window opened up for Waller, and after this bye week, I expect him to come back this week now, is Darren Waller. So we saw Waller in the few games he played, he had 4 touchdowns, is Waller, including on a Monday night at the New York Jets versus the Jets early in the season, 2 touchdowns. So Waller's still a matchup problem, still a guy who could score touchdowns. Obviously, we saw him and Tua had a decent rapport, and with nothing going on in the passing game besides Jalen Waddle, I think Waller can come right back and be a top 10 option for fantasy owners, especially this week versus the New Orleans Saints. Number 10, Jake Ferguson of the Dallas Cowboys. So Ferguson's definitely taken a back seat since CeeDee Lamb returned to the lineup a little bit over a month ago for this Cowboy team. But Ferguson's still one of the better tight ends in fantasy football, still amongst the league leaders at the tight end position in touchdowns. And this week, okay matchup versus the Kansas City Chiefs, where their defense, obviously one of the better units in the league, but I think Jake Ferguson with Kansas City's going to try to take Lamb out of the game plan. I think Ferguson could go out there, work the middle of the field, and have a good game this week. Number 11, Mark Andrews of the Baltimore Ravens. To Mark Andrews, it's been an up and down season here for Mark Andrews. And once again this season, he's been a touchdown dependent tight end, is Andrews. But this week, I still have him in the top 12. It's a good matchup versus Cincinnati Bengals, a defense all season long that hasn't stopped anyone. This is a Thanksgiving Thursday game as well, where mostly it's just all offense, where teams really can't game plan and do much in these ball games, where we've seen high scoring more weeks than not. So this week versus Cincinnati Bengals, I think Andrews could go out there, and even if he scores a touchdown in 30 yards, let's say, that's a solid game. Number 12, Dallas Goedert of the Philadelphia Eagles. So this offense all season long, it's just been a mystery. What's the problem with it? Last season, it was a high-powered offense. This year, Jalen Hurts, he's just not hitting on all cylinders with his receivers. To begin the year, Dallas Goedert came out of the gate easily his number one option in terms of production and putting up numbers for this Eagle team. But of late, he really hasn't done much, especially last week at the Dallas Cowboys, a team he's dominated throughout his career. So Dallas Goedert this week with the Bears coming in, Black Friday ball game, I think he could go out there and bounce back. Number 13, Dalton Schultz of the Houston Texans. So this week, a decent matchup going at the Indianapolis Colts here for Dalton Schultz. And Schultz, he had a string of 4 out of 5 games with double-digit fantasy points. Before last week, he went out there and he didn't do anything in that ball game. But now C.J. Stroud back in the starting lineup. I think that will help Dalton Schultz a little bit in this game, even though Davis Mills played decent, I thought, and they went 3-0 in the 3 games he started. So this week in Indianapolis, they know they got to put some points on the board a little bit, even though we know their defense of Houston is one of the better units in the league. 14, Dalton Kincaid of the Buffalo Bills. So Kincaid, the latest report, he was making progress on his injury and possibly could return this week as Kincaid. So this week, not 100%. He returns to the lineup for this Buffalo Bill team, but they definitely could use him after what happened in last week's game at Houston, where they couldn't do much offensively and Josh Allen was holding on to the football a little long, and he got sacked 8 times. So this week in a matchup at the Pittsburgh Steelers, their defense all season long, you would think would be better than it's been, but they're giving up a lot of points in some of these ball games, especially last week at the Bears. They gave up a bunch of points. So this week, I think if Kincaid returns to the lineup, could go out there and be a decent option for fantasy owners. And the 15th and final tight end I'm ranking, Hunter Henry of the New England Patriots. So last week, he took advantage of a great matchup at the Cincinnati Bengals. He had a monster game. Easily the best game of the season was for Henry. 7 catches, 115 yards, found the end zone in that one. Him and Drake May, they've had a good rapport all season long. But this is a type of offense where Drake May is the quarterback that's going to spread that football out to 6 or 7 different players on the offense. And that's why at times Henry's numbers aren't there. But this week, pretty decent matchup with the Giants coming in Monday Night Football. And I think Hunter Henry, he's not going to obviously put up the numbers like he did last week. And like you said, he was struggling for a bit. But I still think he could go out there anywhere from 8-12 fantasy point range is a possibility. So that's the top 15 tight ends I'm ranking for week 13 of the fantasy football season.